Hey everyone, Andrew at Microphonic Designs here with another episode of Sound Design from Scratch to Patch in Omnisphere. Today we've got a really cool BPM-based eighth note morphing sound that we're going to be building. Let's take a quick listen. Alright, and as always, before we get started, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content. That type of support is always and sincerely appreciated. Now let's dig in. Okay. Initialize patch. Okay, so tonight I've got an idea for a sound, and I want it to be another sort of rhythmic sound, and this video may perhaps be a bit shorter. We'll see how it goes, and I've actually got a project in mind for this sound, so let's actually bump this tempo to 164 so that when we sync in Omnisphere, we are syncing with the tempo that I sort of have in mind. And let's see. Yep, and I've also got some other fun things on the screen here, just because, you know, we'll see how this this stuff goes here, the VU meter and correlation meter and all that. Okay, so let's start first by maybe picking a sound. I want to jump right into the envelopes because I kind of have an idea. I've spent the last few days sort of thinking about what I want to do next. But again, we'll just sort of see where the night leads us. And let's go in here, deep, and maybe I'm not even sure that I want like some of these lower focused, oscillator shapes, but. This one could work. I might get lucky. Yeah. Okay, so that might be what we want, and of course we've got to put unison on. We're gonna bring that down an octave because I like having that substance to the sound, right? Oh, that's pretty gnarly though. There we go. So that's a pretty gnarly. Oh no. Alright, that should do. And then to sort of beef that up further, let's go into layer B. And let's just put a regular sine wave, and we're going to transpose this down. Maybe 2 octaves. Okay. And that is a gnarly sound. I'm sorry if that's annoying. It's going to be cool. Again, I have an idea of, sort of what I hear in my head. So it's not just going to be this bass drone sound, I promise. There we go. It's a pretty low. Do we want it that low? I don't know. Maybe we'll go back up an octave. I really want that sub bass. So yeah, we'll bring it back down and we'll mix it in. So you can see where that sine wave is, because if we just go here, it's mixing in with this low, I guess maybe, what is that, 60, 70 hertz or so? Yeah, right around there. Okay, now we're going to bring the filter so that that's not so jarring on your ears. And this is also where we'll probably bring back that sine wave. But I like the sine wave just because it does add a little bit more of that low oomph to the sound. Okay. And on these V meters, I want to pull the head all the way down. There we go. Okay. So filter, I'm going to turn the B layer off. We'll bring that back in. There we go. And the filter isn't going to stay like that. The amp also isn't going to stay like this. So I've got an idea. So again, we're going to loop and sync this, and we're going to start adding in points as we've done before. But instead of spikes, I'm going to put these as pulses, and we're going to line these up with the, I guess you'd call these subdivisions, I suppose. Okay, there we go. Another pulse. We'll probably do 4 of these, maybe. Oops. Come on. Zoom back in. Another pulse. And one last pulse. And this will end on the 2. And again, we're going to zoom in real far to make sure that these are accurate rhythms. I learned from the last video that I really have to pay attention to where these little points are lined up at, so that if we're doing more than one layer, the rhythms line up. And I also kind of figured out that, oops, not that far, that we can zoom in on this first point and bring it in just a little bit, and that should get rid of some of the clicks that we might hear. There we go. Another cool thing we can do is in this edit button, these are 16th notes, and I want them to be 8th notes, even though that is pretty cool. We're going to do halftime. There we go. So now we have 8th notes. They are synced to 8th notes at 164 beats per minute. And we are looping these 4 pulses here. So we're going to go here. We're going to copy envelope preset. We're going to go to the filter envelope. And then we're going to paste the envelope. But we're not going to keep these as pulses, because this would be kind of weird. So we're going to turn these into spikes. So what this should do, in my head, I kind of figured this would pull the cutoff down for each of the pulses. We'll see how that works out. Maybe not that steep. So maybe we will turn these from... Or maybe this just because the cutoff is too low. And let's try this. Oh, and you know what? I'm so dumb. I forgot to loop and sync. There it is. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So, yeah, note to self. Remember to loop and sync the envelopes that you want to line up together. Silly me. Okay. So another thing that we can do that I want to do with the sound is use mod 1 to also affect the cutoff. And I want this, I'm hoping this part works out. Let me lock these in place real quick. I'm hoping to sort of bring the filter open for 4 counts and maybe put this on 5, because it's 1 count here, another count here, the 3rd count is here, and the 4th count is here. So the start of the next measure would be number 5, right? And we need to go back here, cut off, modulate all mod sources, mod envelope 1. And let's pull this down. And now that I'm thinking about it, I don't want this. I want this type of a shape. Okay, I kind of like that, but maybe not so far up. Maybe right around there. And then we will take the downward curve, because I do want there to be a downward curve. We'll end that at that measure. And I'm going to zoom in also to make absolute sure that this point is right on the measure. Here we go. See, it's a little off. And we're zoomed way in. I'm like squinting to see it. Okay. And then this shape is also kind of weird, so I want it to kind of last. There we go. So we're sort of opening up the filter for a measure. We're doing, eighth notes, opening up the filter, and then another bar closing it. And this, I don't know that I want it to loop. And let's do this. So again, I was hearing a little bit of a click, so I'm just barely moving that first point to hopefully get rid of that click. And I think it's still in there. Again, I'm using my headphones right now, but that might be a little more apparent if you're listening on like really good monitoring speakers. But yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But for now, we're looking good. And so I want to take, again, so we're going to copy the pulse envelope preset. We're going to put it in here. So this is the amp for the sine wave, but we're probably going to change this. See, that's not exactly what I want for the sine wave. So how can we do this? Because we just listen to that. Well, I gotta sync it again with the envelope settings. We're getting those clicks. So maybe we'll just turn these into... well, that could be cool. Let's check out curve 2 for each of these. Oops. Cancel. Don't want to mess any of that up. Did I just lose everything? No, thankfully. So Command Z does not work in Omnisphere like I thought. That's okay. And maybe it does. We're just going to try something out here. There we go. Kind of that shape. And this might not be at all what I want. Go octave up. Okay, curve 2. Another point. Curve 2. And this is also going to be curve 2. Okay, so we just need a bit of adjusting here. Pull that. Come on. There we go, that way. That is much more gentle. Much more gentle on that sine wave. And now I just want to make sure again that the dots are lined up, which it looks like they are for the most part. I just don't want any rhythms getting off sync or off tempo, because that loop is just going to loop, how we have it. And hopefully everybody can hear that. I know sine waves are typically a little more quiet just because they don't have as many harmonics. I mean, we do have a little bit here, but compared to like, A, right? Okay. So again with the clicking, but I'm certain that's just because these are pulses. Probably not going to hear that at the end of this because I've got an idea for a really neat sort of complex, like rhythmically morphing eighth note sound. So we'll leave this how it is for now. The filter's not turned on for the sine wave. I don't think we want it to, but perhaps. Nope. So we'll just leave the sine wave, and I'm going to pull that back a little bit. Again, I just want that sitting just barely underneath. There we go. Okay. So now we can get into the resonance. Do we want this? Maybe we'll use that same envelope to modulate the resonance as well. Let's see, all mod sources, mod envelope 1. But we don't want it to be too much, so we're going to have it start all the way down. There we go. Okay, so far so good. All right, and let's see. I just want to make sure, so I do plan to use this with or for something, so I want to make sure that when we draw it in as a MIDI note, it's doing the right thing. And so far, I think we have it going over two bars. So we'll open this up. And I've just been holding down that B flat. We'll move it up to C. Why not? And we'll increase that velocity a little bit just because. You know, I'm starting to, I don't know if I'm such a fan of the sine waves. So we'll hold this for now as in our back pocket, but we'll just focus on the A layer. And we're going to add some effects to it. The other thing that I am now super fan of, because it worked out really well in the first video that we did a few days ago, is modulating the aux send amount from layer A or whatever layer we're in with this slider and sending signal to the proverb. And there's a couple others, but we're going to stick with proverb. I want the time to be up pretty far because this is going to be one of those, you know, real big sounding morphing pad things. We're going to up high frequency time, which is what I would like. And we'll put the crossover at maybe 2500. There we go. Okay, we'll pull that back. Looks good. All right, so for the A layer, we're going to come in, aux send, modulate. What do we want to modulate this with? Maybe mod envelope 1, but we need to come all the way down. We might have to make a new mod envelope for this because of the fact that when we go into mod envelope 1, I don't have it going up all the way, and I think I will want that for mod 2. So let's just go ahead and do that. So we're gonna not loop and sync because I only intend to use this for one phrase. And we're gonna put this at 1 measure, which is there. Kind of a linear send. And then we'll cut the reverb out pretty quick. There we go, kind of like that. And so layer aux and mod 2, here we go. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Okay. Kind of what I want. Let's do this. Okay. We might pull this, make it more of like a sort of a real steep EQ curve almost here. All right, and then with this, let's turn this up. And I wonder if we can do delay. There it is, BPM delay. And let's turn this into 1/8 notes. All right, pan, tone, feedback. Not quite what I want, so let's remove that. And the thing is I don't want, like, I think it'd be cool for the reverb to ping pong, but I think what's in my head, I don't have the skill set to do. So maybe we won't worry about that for now. That's all right. I'm having a good time. I've also got an idea for a third layer. and maybe it's just the second layer. I'm not sure just yet, but I want to pull in a sample. And I want that sample to be classical choir. I'm not sure which choir just yet, so we might play around with this, but I want it to do the same thing where it's sort of gating. It's like a gated choir almost, but as it comes in, I want the volume of the choir. So as, well, let's just work on it, and then hopefully I will be able to actually produce what I'm hearing. So let's pick a choir patch to start with, and I'm going to turn off the A layer so that we can hear what we're choosing. No. And some of this is kind of going through. I don't think we want effects. That's kind of neat. Let's stick with that. That's pretty sweet. So what'll happen? What happens if we just do this? There we go. So we can't modulate. I don't know why the menu's showing up here. So we can't modulate the volume here. How else can we do this? Let's see. So let's go into... I wonder if this will work. So I want to take mod envelope 1. Oh, you know what? I think the mod envelopes might be the same between everybody. Yeah, okay, that's all right. We'll use mod envelope 3. And we'll pull this in, and again, I'm like in focus mode trying to make this happen. So we'll do a bar, and I want it to come in kind of like that. And then we're going to go back to the modulation page. We're going to do, okay, on mod envelope 3, and we're in layer C, right? And we're going to do amp, amplitude. I wonder if this will work, how I sort of hear it. I want full width all the way. There we go. Okay, we're on to something here. I'm pleased. So this tail I don't want. Not like this shape anyway. So we're going to pull this out to 9, which will be sort of the downbeat of the next measure. And speaking of Omnisphere, I just got an email from Spectrasonic's new Trillion V1.5 update. I don't have Trillion yet. Maybe I'll grab it one of these days. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so this is turning into sort of what I was sort of hearing over the last few days. All right. And we're clipping a little bit. I meant to get rid of, there we go, that side panel. All right, naturally we'll go into effects. So this is layer C. And I want to pull this up a little bit. So we'll use another modern compressor. There we go. But I don't want it to be too much, right? Because, yeah. Let's see. What do I want? I want dynamics. Put a limiter. There we go. And you know what? For this layer C, let's do we want using maybe this? Turn that off. Put this at an octave. There we go. Okay, now back to the effects, and we're going to modulate the send with, we're going to use mod envelope 4, and now we need to go draw that curve. Mod envelope 4, okay. Let's see. Again, I want, no, this isn't, I love the whole ping pong delay type stuff. So I'm probably going to use that a lot, especially for this. That's sort of what I was hearing. So again, with the BPM delay, and let's just pull it all the way in the mix. And let's turn the feedback up. And I want this again to be 1/8 notes. Let's see how this turns out. Here we go. I don't think this, no, it's not doing it. I want that on 5. There we go. So I'm having to remember that each of these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the start of the next measure. So that's kind of where I want it to. Maybe pull this out. Let's try that. Okay. Ooh, it's kind of gnarly. I think, okay, so let's go back here to layer A and filter this. I think I want this to last a little bit longer here. And maybe even pull it up. Let's see. I'm having trouble articulating exactly what I. So let's see. For just a second, I want to turn this off. So maybe what we need to do is, let's look at this velocity curve. So that's kind of what I want. So I guess with adjusting, and I've not messed with velocity curves too much, my best guess is that by pulling this curve back at these higher velocities, it's triggering the sound a little bit as it would if it were lower with a linear curve. And that's kind of how I want, right? Like I want a more exaggerated filter opening. So when we hit the note, that open filter is a little more exaggerated. So now we can go back in. That's more or less what I was wanting for sure. We will unmute that, and we will turn layer C back on. And what about adding in the sub? That's cool. All right, and then can we do anything else with this? I'm trying to keep this a little bit shorter video. I'm going to cut out the naming and the saving and all that. I watched my first video back, and the naming, and I was trying to put a drum kit in. That was real boring. I like that. The only thing that I might want further is for... let's see. I don't know that we can add. No, no. Get rid of those. I wanted the amp. So I can't add. So I'm wondering how I might be able to bring in a delay on. Well, you know, it might not matter too much. So let's just try this. Let's go into Effects. Go into A. Let's put another BPM delay on here. And again, eighth notes. I do not want it to bounce, so 0 spread. I want this in and feedback up a little bit. There we go. So when I released the note, I wanted the A layer to follow along with the choir layer. Yeah. Here we go. But I'm willing to bet that there is a mod envelope that we can use to bring that in towards the end. So let's see if I've got anything. I don't. How can we do this? So maybe we can use an LFO. All right, so I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to modulate this with LFO, but I want it to be really slow, and I want it to be saw, and we're going to actually reverse saw so that as we hold it down, and we're actually going to sync this so that it goes for 2 bars. So at the end of the 2 bars where I want to release this note, this probably, no, that's not going to work. No, that's not quite going to work. Because then the reason why, if this were, yeah, I just don't have another mod envelope to do this with. It's not going to work with the LFO because I want it to go all the way, and so at the very end of the note, yeah, we're going to scratch that. We're going to unmodulate. Oops, not show modulation. Unmodulate. I wonder if there are any other interesting effects we could put in here, just because. Let's see. Creative, modulation, Pro Phaser. That's kind of wacky. Let's pull this to an even dozen. Great. That adds an interesting texture. But I definitely don't want that for the whole thing. So we'll pull this back to like 15. There we go. That's kind of cool. And we'll call it. So let me name and save this, and we'll call it a night. There we go. And we could go in and make this repeat. So for some of these envelopes, right, like we could loop some of these. Oops, that one was already looped. Loop, loop. And then let's see. Those are looped and synced. There we go. That's cool. So I'll leave the patches this with all of those mod envelopes looped, just so that I could pull this into any other project, maybe even like a standard, like, I don't know, electronic tune or something like that, and it would just loop like that, because that's really, I like. So there we have it. I ended up calling this one Ghost Morph, and it is in the BPM category. Here's one last little snippet of this patch. Yeah, absolutely fun stuff. Big thank you to everybody that has hung out with me this far into the video as we put this patch together. And of course, a big thank you to everyone that has subscribed so far. If you have not yet hit the subscribe button, make sure you do so. That's going to notify you when I get more content like this uploaded. And the like button is another one that you should hit. That like button is going to really help keep me motivated more than I already am to keep developing this YouTube channel and building a community around this type of content. I love sound design so much, and I'm so happy to be sharing that with all of you out there. So thanks once again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.